Welcome, gentle listener. I am Baldermort, your faithful servant, and I wish to introduce you to the forces, factions, and units of the Warhammer 40k setting, the grim darkness of the far future. And today, we are going to make a very brief look at the fire support units of the new Marine Army of the Imperium, for they are entirely made up of Primaris Space Marines, the larger, stronger and tougher post-human gene-enhanced warriors devised by Belisarius Cawl, at the command of Reboot Gilman, presently the only active loyalist Primarch and the Lord Commander of the entire Imperium of Man. You may have noted that I have not begun this entry with my usual tale depicting the units in question on the field. This is for a very simple reason: saturation. For this Friday, I intend to perform a large entry on one of the most important legions and chapters in the entire setting. As such, I am hoping to gain a good depiction of all of these units in the tales that will help explore this mighty legion. Hence my not wishing to overbake the cake on this one. It is shaping up to be one of my best yet, so I hope you will join me then. Barring any hiccups, it should be available at 5 o'clock at 1700 London time on Friday night. And so, for the very basics, let us lean on existing wisdom. To quote, Primaris Fire Support Squads. A chapter's fire support squads provide covering fire to their battle line and close support brethren, whether by assassinating key targets, suppressing the foe, or hunting enemy armor. By their target selection, marksmanship and timely application of firepower are countless battles won. Hellblaster squads. Imperial observers have likened the fire of a Hellblaster squad to the incinerating power of a stellar flare. Bolt after bolt of plasma sears across the battlefield. Those caught in the Hellblaster sights are swiftly annihilated, their armor blasted to ash and their flesh and bone to glowing motes. Even armored fighting vehicles are swiftly reduced to glowing heaps of metallic slag. Deployed at the correct point in time, a single Hellblaster squad can blunt the thundering assault of an armored spearhead, or lay low even the most titanic alien entity. Harking back to the single armament specialisms of the Space Marine legions, Hellblaster squads are nonetheless strategically versatile. The plasma incinerators they carry are light enough to be fired on the move, while still retaining the stopping power to bring down a rampaging hive tyrant or careening battle wagon through sustained fire. Several different marks of this weapon are available to further diversify the strategic usefulness of Hellblaster squads. Assault plasma incinerators, for example, are short-ranged but gyro-stabilized for quick firing, even on the move. Heavy plasma incinerators, meanwhile, require a backpack power source but can generate truly ferocious energy blasts. The only limiting factor on the usefulness of these squads is the comparative scarcity and potential instability of their weapons. As such, Hellblasters are amongst the finest marksmen in any given company, and will only resort to supercharging their plasma incinerators in truly dire circumstances. They are not afraid to do so, however, and more than one squad has martyred itself in battle, turning the tide at the cost of their own immolation. Yet for every warrior to suffer such a fiery death, there is another that obliterates its foes amidst searing tempests of starborn fury. Aggressor squads. Clad in Mark X Gravis armor, Aggressor squads advance upon the foe as walking ceramite strongpoints. Each is equipped with a pair of Boltstorm gauntlets that, coupled with the thumping percussion of their back-mounted grenade launchers, allow aggressors to lay down a devastating hail of firepower. Should the enemies push through this steel rain to bring claws and blades to bear, the aggressors meet them with hard-swung power fists that crumple armor and pulp flesh with ruinous ease. Aggressors excel in the tight confines of cityscapes, dense jungles, enemy trenchworks, and the like, where single lines are short and death comes in sudden explosions of gunfire. The aggressors simply wade through their enemies' attacks. Their post-human reflexes and devastating weapons ensure that the foe do not get a second chance to strike them down. On such battlefields, Aggressors are equally valuable as spearhead units to push an infantry offensive through the foe's lines, or localized reserves whose thudding footfalls and chattering guns herald the sudden and bloody end to even the most determined enemy assaults. For especially dense terrain, or when facing foes that cover the ground in great number, aggressor squads will wear paired flamestorm gauntlets. When equipped this way, their armor's raised pauldrons protect against the inevitable flame backwash as they stride forwards, sending sweeping arcs of fire billowing out. Dancing flames wreathe the aggressors as they advance, their weapon barrels glowing in the smoking gloom. Orc hordes and tyrannid swarms alike are incinerated, their brittle and blackened bones crumbling to dust beneath the tread of the aggressors as they march straight into where the enemy is thickest. Many Space Marine chapters make extensive use of aggressor squads, and demand for additional suits of Gravis armor from the armories is constant. The ever-logical Iron Hands, for example, favor the monumental kill ratio that these weapons can achieve when properly fielded, while the Black Templars prize the ability to advance relentlessly upon the heretic foe and burn them for their sins. The Imperial Fists and Salamanders too appreciate the Boltstorm and Flamestorm weaponry of these warriors respectively, and field them in great numbers. Suppressor squads. Suppressors specialize in rapid response to heavily armored enemy threats. They go to battle clad in Omnis pattern armor, which is created by blending elements of the heavier Gravis pattern and the lighter Phobos pattern over the Mark X armor exoskeleton. The result is a comparatively lightweight but extremely durable suit of power armor that can easily tolerate the extreme stresses of grav drops, jump insertion operations, and the thunderous recoil of portable heavy weaponry. This as well, as the role of Suppressor requires all three of these things. Suppressor squads enter battle either by dropping directly into the action on the whispering veins of their grav chutes, or else in long, bounding leaps with their jump packs roaring. In either case, their duty is to rapidly and aggressively occupy dominant firing positions, and then watch for developing threats to the Space Marines' advance. As soon as a target is sighted, the suppressors engage their shock-absorbing servo plates and let fly with their accelerator autocannons. Though lightweight enough to be borne across the battlefield in powered leaps and even fired mid-jump by more experienced suppressors, these potent weapons hammer foot-long, armoured-piercing shells into the enemy at a ferocious rate. Infantry are forced to dive for cover, their advance grinding to a halt lest they be blasted limb from limb. Even armoured vehicles are swiftly wrecked as a concentrated hail of shots blows out motive systems, fills crew compartments with lethal spore, and touches off fuel and ammunition in catastrophic detonations. By the time the bodies and wreckage hit the ground, the suppressors are already gone, leaping away on blazing rocket trails to take up their next firing position and slaughter the foe anew. End quote. Ah, these glorious units. A real change from the past, and a clear indicant of the alteration of the perspective, and the entire modus operandi of the Space Marines, and how they are deployed in the new era. Previously, since the end of the Horus Heresy and the subsequent scouring, the chapters of Space Marines have lent towards more utility and adaptability. But this was due to them being, above all, a defensive force. With the possible exception of the Black Templars' Eternal Crusades, the armies of the Imperium have been playing a guardian role for over 10,000 years or more. Yes, there have been localized crusades and campaigns of aggression and expansion, but the overall rule and doctrines behind the Marines has been one of protection, damage limitation, interception, and punitive actions. Now, in the era Indomitus, the armies of the Imperium are taking on a far more aggressive role. With the Avenging Sun, Reboot Gilliman returned, the urge to break out and to act aggressively has been realized. For no longer can the politicking and rivalries of the High Lords of Terror prevent concerted action in the good of the entire Imperium. Previously, if one High Lord were to outshine the others, then it could lead to a tyranny. So, like the Senate of the Republican period of Rome, if any military general gained too much success, they would be torn down, irrespective of their gains and greater goals, for they could return to Terra on the back of these victories and proclaim themselves a despot. but with the return of an actual son of the Emperor, a Primarch, and not anyone either, the avenging son himself, Reboot Gilliman. The rules have changed. Not only are the strengths of the Imperium being harnessed better than ever before, but there is a newfound unity, as precarious as it is, that could only be gained by the good graces of a superlative general such as Reboot being at the helm. As such, we can see that the format of troops that worked so well in the aggressive expansionist wars of the Crusade are returned. These units show the progression of the Imperium, not only in technology, a thing that was hitherto be undreamed of only 100 years ago, of which I'll explain in my upcoming entry on the Mechanicum, but also in its perspective. It is no longer huddling behind its bastilles and parapets, but going out with banners unfurled, taking back land, taking back space, and taking back the initiative. For the Imperium literally has no choice. With all of the threats that are now howling at their very gates, the human race can only do one of two things: roll over and die, or fight like we have never fought before. And it is in these new units that we see the will to fight, the will to conquer, the will to prevail returned. For Hellblasters and Aggressors are very limited, a very high risk to reward units, which means that something is happening that all Xenos and Demonkind should worry about greatly. For now, the Imperium is beginning to believe in itself again. I have been Baldermort, your faithful servant. I hope you have enjoyed this brief introduction to the Primaris fire support units, and I look forward to showing you how they move, what they do, and how they do it in the very near future. I hope you will join me then. Now, no matter what you do today, do try to make time for fun. Toodaloo.